In the last tape, I talked about getting to Larkana, how we got to Larkana because the house in Shikarpur got damaged. The switch from Shikarpur to Larkana was really enormous. Shikarpur, we were grandchildren of a upper middle class businessman. Now, in Larkana, we were children of a very prominent attorney and a very upcoming political figure. My father was already General Secretary of Sindh Province Muslim League. Muslim League was a party which had gained independence from Britain. So it meant that here was Secretary General for the whole province of the ruling party. As a result, while in Shikarpur we met local businessmen, but we really did not meet the rulers of that area. But in Larkana, we were meeting top government officials like the chief ministers and ministers and the commissioner and the chief of police and so on. That gave us a different perspective. I remember like one time in 1951, Defense Minister of Pakistan at that time, Muhammad Ayub Khoro, had just returned from India after having a meeting with Prime Minister Nehru. I was maybe 11 years old, and my father had given a party for him. There were lots of sofas, and of course, my father was sitting with the defense minister. And then he got up to go meet someone else and so on. So I saw an empty seat next to the defense minister of Pakistan, and I walked over and said hello. He looked at me. This was a very serious and stern type of fellow, Mr. Khoro. And I asked him, sir, I'm so glad that you went to India and met Nehru. Can you please tell me what happened? Is Nehru a good guy? Are we going to have Indo-Pak peace? Now, this defense minister, he looked at me in a funny way, and I could see he does not want to answer my question. So his son was also in party, who was much older than me, a teenager. He pointed to his son, Pasha, and said, son, why don't you go sit with him? So I sort of unceremoniously, I had to get up and go talk to his son. But I mean, as we got older and more accustomed to this sort of setting, we were meeting a lot of who's and who's. Among one of the regular visitors at our house I saw was Sir Shah Nawaz Bhutto. He was father of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who later became Prime Minister and President of Pakistan. Now, Sir Shah Nawaz Bhutto, who was knighted by British government, was a retired man at that time, and he used to come regularly in the evening to our house, and he would get a drink, and I mean, people in Pakistan don't drink alcohol much, and everybody who came to our house in the evening, evenings were socializing time. So people will get sharbat, which is like sweet drink like Coca-Cola or something. But if my memory serves me, Sir Shah Nawaz used to have scotch and soda, and my father would give it to him, but in a metal glass, so nobody could see what was in it. Now, at that time, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was still studying abroad. But his older son, Sikandar Bhutto, who was about the age of my father, he used to be a daily visitor. He would come morning and evening. He was really a good friend of my father. Then I remember when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto came back from America and England after having done law, and my father arranged a lunch for him. And it was a strictly family lunch. Sir Nawaz Bhutto brought his two sons, Sikandar Bhutto and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and my father has two older sons, Ghulam Ali and me, sitting on his both sides. Even though Ghulam Ali was like 13 and I was about 11, and of course all three Bhuttos were grown up. But also my father had invited my uncle, Nizamuddin. So there were 7 of us sitting. And I remember that Sir Shahnawaz Bhutto took hand of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and gave it in hands of my father. And he told his son Zulfikar Ali Bhutto that Abdul Fattah Memon is like your older brother and like your father. And you must respect him and you must learn from him. So, we made that kind of people. And also, of course, being attorney, my father handled all kind of cases, criminal cases, civil cases. So while he would have political visitors, he will also have his clients. And of course, they will talk privately, but we did get to see a lot of people. And in his office, there were case folders for each cases. Even though I was very young, but I sort of enjoyed whenever I had a chance to read those files and see what kind of cases they were, and they were very fascinating. And in a way, I always thought that I will grow up to be my father. I will become an attorney like him, and I will also go in politics, and I will be in Larkana and Sindh and Pakistan. But of course, fate had something else, alhamdulillah, even better for me. So that is another part of the story. But we met all kinds of different people. I remember 1947, 48. Now this was before we had permanently moved to Larkana. But we used to, of course, come and visit Larkana. And I remember those times when refugees from India used to come. Now, being the sort of chief of the party, Secretary General of the Sindh Muslim League, which is like number 2 in the province. So all the evacuee property, which means property of all those people, principally Hindus, who had left Larkana and had gone away, migrated to India, keys of their houses, their shops, and so on used to be with my father. And then we would go to railway station because refugees will come by train, and we will take garlands. We will go to the railway station when a refugee family will come. We will put garlands in their necks. We will bring them with respect to our house. There used to be constantly, I remember, huge pots of milk will be there and some food will be there, and they will get food and milk. Then my father will interview them, and or one of his assistants, and they will determine what sort of background this man has, how many children, profession, and so on. And based on that, my father will simply hand them over key of a particular house or key of a shop or possession of certain lands, and they will go and just settle down. Of course, it took few years to get them legal possession of those things. But this is how, right, in our own house, this is how hundreds, if not thousands, of refugee families were settled in Larkana district. Those were very significant times, especially when we judge this in context of what happened few years later, when the rivalry is between the refugee families and the local Sindhis have started to happen, which continue to this day. And unfortunately, there is feeling that the refugees did not get their due share, whereas certainly from my family, I saw that these people had the best of honorable reception and very easy transition. They got off the trains, they got homes, they got shops, they got property, and they got social acceptance, which is based on really tradition of our Prophet, that when Prophet had moved from Mecca to Medina, the local people of Medina had given utmost respect to these muhajirs, which literally means refugees. So that was very interesting. Another very significant memory of mine in Larkana is my schooling, especially the high school. In our days, there were 4 years of elementary school and then 7 years of high school. And maybe this will be next time I will talk about my education.